Hello, Reinhard.
Hello and welcome. Welcome back to the Light 'em Up Lounge. It's Wednesday evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you back to our cozy little virtual lounge. This time with an old friend, a trusted fellow, the one and only Maestro Claudio. It's a pleasure to have you, as always. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us again and doing us the honors yet again.
Thank you, Ryan. Oh, that's too much. That's too much. Thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to everybody connecting now or maybe later. Always so nice to see old friends, and always say and making new friends as well. And let's rock and roll. It's going to be very, very interesting. And I see as well, where is the lift master? This master, where is it? Oh, he's there. Yeah. All right.
Hey. How are you?
I'm right, good. Brother, welcome. Good to see you. I hope you're well over in Dubai.
Thank you. Miss you guys.
And I hope that Jose Blanco is not going to call me Stefano, as he did for like 15 years. And finally reminds me like Claudio. Jose, how are you?
Jose, I can't hear you. I don't know if your audio works, but no, it's probably your headphones that are not connected.
Oh, I guess not.
There you are.
Yes. I mean, I don't know why I kept calling Claudio Stefano, but I think it's because I had a friend in Italy. But I'll call him Claudio tonight. It's great to see everybody. Especially Aldo. Oh my God. And Johan. But it's your show. I'll dip in later on about 17 questions for Claudio.
Oh boy, that's going to be a long show.
Good evening, Jose.
So whilst Claudio is sort of mentally preparing for everything that's about to happen and go down, once the professor is actually starting to nail Claudio on Light 'em Up. First of all, Claudio, let's go back to the drawing board. And we had multiple occasions when we got together at the Light 'em Up Lounge, and it was actually because of different roles of yours. We did our initial interview when you were with Mombacho, and then we spent a lot of time together here at Light 'em Up with our virtual Pura Sabor Festival last year, with you as the acting and reigning president of the chamber in Nicaragua. But what is the real Claudio Sgroi in the cigar world? Where do you feel like your innermost expression comes to life, and just how do you see your own role and position in the industry now?
Wow, that's a very tough question in the beginning, right away like that. First of all, I have to say that since now a little bit more than 20 years, I've been deeply into the industry. I started in the beautiful Dominican Republic when I was a young Italian teacher and translator and interpreter, and then I had that sparkle that completely changed my life, because since that day in the area, I'm in the I call the cigar industry, but for me it's not an industry. It's a big family. It's friendship. It's a lot more than an industry. And since I started, I didn't stop. I didn't stop. And yes, as you said, I had multiple and different roles. And, I worked in DR. Then I moved to Switzerland because I spent 9 years with Davidoff. So 2.5 years in Switzerland. Then I went back to Italy, to my beautiful country, where I spent 3.5 years working there as a brand manager for the entire portfolio of Davidoff cigars. And then completely changed my life again, because not only I left Davidoff, but I moved to United States. So since 2009, living in the United States, and the first 2 years in the United States, I started as a consultant in the industry. And even myself, I was like, are you sure that you're going to be a consultant in the industry where there is, a bunch of guys that think they know everything and they will never call a consultant for cigars and all those things. And you know what? I was pretty successful. I had a different project that I ran for a couple of years. And actually, Mombacho was one of my projects. I was a consultant for them in the beginning. And then I ended up spending 10 years with Mombacho. I moved 4.5 years living based in Granada, in Nicaragua. And when I left early last year, Mombacho, then I was like, no, my passion is really, into the world of, being consultant in the industry. And so I opened CST Consulting based in Miami. And so lucky, because if you want, at the very beginning, I was afraid that everybody was calling me saying, Claudio, why you left? What's going on? And blah, blah, blah. Actually, everybody called me saying, oh, now that you are free, can we work together? Was a big, big surprise for me. And now I have 7 different projects ongoing right now within my CST consulting, and very, very happy, because it is not only or making a blend or related only to cigars. I embark a little bit the full spectrum within the industry. So really from the seed down to the ash. Some of the projects I'm consulting in the international distribution, and some sales and marketing, in others only blending, in a couple other projects, quality controls at the factories. So I'm, I've been lucky, because in the last 20 years, I really worked within each of the department, if we want to call it like them, because I was in the fields in Dominican Republic and at the factory. Then I was in sales and marketing. Then I was in management. Then I was in international distribution. Then with Casa Favilli, the factory in Granada, for 10 years inside the production every day. So I've been really exposed, and I touched all the things related to cigars. So I'm pretty happy, because now, as I said, the full spectrum within the industry, I can really advise and consult on that.
Well, first of all, I'm sure you signed plenty of NDAs, so we're probably not going to talk about too many aspects of your various projects. Nevertheless, for all of you watching, if you have questions, please fire away, put them underneath the live stream over on Facebook. I'm always checking your comments so we can forward all questions to Claudio. As I said, probably not make them specifically about all the NDAs that he signed, but we'll try to clarify as many things as possible. Yes. Claudio, speaking from experience, I've been working as a consultant for luxury brands and five-star hospitality, spirits industry for almost a decade. And my gut feeling is that whenever somebody hears the word consultant, probably not in our industries, but in any industry, you always think of that weird guy coming over with a nice suit, probably an expensive watch, a mouth like this, bubbling away and blubbering for hours, then sending over a large paycheck. And in the end, you're probably just as knowledgeable and insightful as you were before, and nothing really happened. Does the world of cigars and tobacco need a consultant? And if so, why?
I have an example for you. This is really a little bit more to to United States, how many brands you saw in the last 10 years coming in the industry and coming out the industry right away, or a lot of ideas that wanted to be turned into cigars, sales marketing, and then those guys just disappeared. That's an example to say that yes, there is a lot of space for a consultant in the industry, because I give you a little behind the scenes, okay? It's not NDA, it's okay, we can say that. For me, maybe it's too easy to go down to Dominican Republic or Honduras or Nicaragua to knock at the door of a factory, to smoke a couple of samples, because you are retired very early in your life, you love cigars, you want to do business with cigars, spend a few dollars at that factory, you have 10,000 cigars you ship, and then after 1 year, you are out of the business. So yes, again, you need a consultant, because many times, there is a very, very talented people in the market or in the different countries that can do a spectacular job, work of, pushed by the passion of cigars and everything. But of course, I don't think everybody knows everything about, not only the cigar industry, but other industries as well. Okay, if you take the industrial world, okay, it is full of engineers that are consultants. Why? Because even though I'm a very smart, successful CEO of a company, maybe I don't know about machines, so I need someone for that. So there is always something that you can make a mistake, for example, in the cigar industry, and having, at the end, not a success, but the opposite, and you're out of business. So that's where I'm positioning CST Consulting, my company, because I truly believe that there is a lot of people with a little bit of help, they can be successful, they can make great cigars, and they can have a long history in the cigar industry. Again, there is a lot of talent. So one of my biggest things when I started was discovering those talents as well. For example, I did a beautiful project with Edgar in Dominican Republic, because I saw him so young, so passionate and talented. He reminded me when I was 25 years old and I smoked a cigar for the first time. Okay, because guys, I'm not the one that was picking tobacco leaf with my grandpa in the fields. No, I'm Italian. So, okay, there is not that history behind me. But since I started, I did only this, and deeply. And there is a lot of people that can be very successful with a little bit of help.
Now, what would you say in particular sets your experience apart from some of the other key players in the industry? And you did mention that you had a very holistic experience, and you have a very holistic perspective on the industry as such. What is it that Claudio Sgroi can specifically bring to the table with CST?
I take an example that I didn't sign the NDA, so it is public as well. We did the press release and everything. I met Oliver and Klaas, his partner from German Engineer Cigars. Spectacular people, very passionate. I was like, wow, these guys, they're rock and rolling with the idea that they have behind the brand, the marketing, everything. But you know what? They were missing a little bit of expertise in one part of the business. So they called me, we had a few conversations, and we ended up, making a few blends for them. I went down to Nicaragua, within my consultancy, I have a few very good friends running beautiful factories where I know that I can, make the quality that can even exceed the expectation of someone. So went down in Nicaragua, blended, cigars. I made like 4 different blends for them, then shipping the samples, smoking together and going deep and deeply, I should say, more and more into the blending. And here we go. Now they are in right now in Vegas with you know, the new blends, and everybody's happy. They are happy. I'm happy too. Spectacular people. That's one little part of you know, my daily job or the things I can do. But again, it's the approach. It's very deep into again all the different departments of everything. Because I've been passionate really for sales, for marketing. Of course, if you ask what's your best thing that you love to do, it is blending. It's making cigars. It's sitting in a factory and seeing the quality control. So, you know, why, for example, I was aging the cigars in Mombacho at 22.4 degrees and not 21.7. You know, there is something there. So that's really like, are you crazy just for half a degree? Yes, so you can make a huge difference. So those are the things that the passion. I stop because then
it's always great to see infectious, enthusiastic, passionate people, Claudio. You know that. Let me turn your example upside down and probably ask you, what makes a cigar brand successful? And I know it's a terribly generic question and there's no one fits all, but from everything that you just mentioned, and in particular, the example of probably one of your customers being in Vegas at the TPE right now, sales shooting through the roof, and what is it that separates the wheat from the chaff?
One thing that I love, it is the fact that today people is very educated about cigars. I should say a lot more educated about cigars. So there is no secret. You want to be successful, you have to have a great cigar. You cannot have any more those cigars that then, you know, people already know what is that. There is no conversation there. It's like, or you have at the top of the quality, or you don't even think to start any brand, not a brand of cigars. Okay, and that's you know, very pushing the boundary on a lot of things. And as you said, the happiness of these things, it makes everything together in a way that then at the end, the success that you are expecting, it is hard work as well. Okay, you gotta be consistent. The consistency that is coming from quality control, cigars, and all those things, got to be consistent in your sales, in your marketing, in everything. Because if you are not consistent in each of the things that you are doing, then you are going to have a problem here or there. So there is those things that gotta drive you always in, let's call it the business of cigars. They gotta reflect the quality from the cigars down to how you brand your cigars, the events you do, where you go, your distribution. You know, that's a huge part. Many guys, they always think, okay, I make cigars and then I sell them. You should think first how to distribute those cigars and then to make the cigars, right? So there is a lot of things into that.
That's an excellent point that you make right there. I'm curious, over the span of your career, do you think that the relations between the sheer manufacturing quality, the marketing, and probably the distribution and sales side, do you feel like they have slightly shifted, whereas probably earlier in your career, one was more important than the other, whereas nowadays probably marketing plays a much bigger role compared to, you know, some other departments where you might take shortcuts every now and then, or you probably have to?
I think it is more about the project. You know, it is not really the fact that maybe I'm more attracted by marketing cigars or making cigars or just distribution. It is really the project for me. Because, for example, I've been approached by people that they want to make a cigar. I'm like, okay, guys, what you want to do? And they do not have an idea what they want to do as a brand distribution. I'm like, okay, guys, it is even better that I don't start to work with you, because first you should have your ideas, you know, in place, and then we can develop all that. So I would say that depend the brands as well. But in the last 20 years, the marketing about cigars completely changed, right? 20, 25 years ago, we didn't have that education again that we have in these days. And then you have brands that got so big that now, they are investing a lot more in marketing. Or I think I can take a beautiful example, Drew Estate completely changed the industry in the entire world, because they were so unique, and they are still so unique and so different. There was something completely new, right? And then you have as well phases, I think, within the industry. Okay, boom, no boom, but you have trends, you have a lot of things about that, and then can touch again more sales or marketing or distribution or the tobacco. Really depends on the project, the brand, and the people behind those things as well. I'm lucky because with the experience I have, I feel pretty comfortable in the different department again that could be helped by me. Of course, the hugest passion is about blending cigars again, but I have a lot of passion for international distribution as well. I always thought about, the world is big, and these days the frontiers are different. So I'm not thinking, okay, you guys, you can sell your cigars only in the United States. I'm like, no, that's wrong. Okay. Again, it depends as well on your idea of your brand, but I'm a lot more international mindset than other guys in the industry, and that is coming from the fact that really I lived like in many different countries. Finally, I'm set in Miami. I hope not to move from Miami, because then I don't know how many moves I did in 20 years.
Claudio, you mentioned the word boom, and everybody is talking about it. Everybody's curious. Like, some people say we live in the golden age of cigars now, and that there was never a better time to be in the cigar industry than here today, right now in 2022. What is the driving factor behind all of that? And do you think it is sustainable? Will it continue? And are you preparing for it to not do that?
Okay. First of all, there is a boom. I think so. Yes. And this boom is big. It is very big. I would say, especially for Nicaragua, indeed. Yes. Nicaragua is seeing since, should say 20 years now, is just, rock and rolling year after year after year. Okay, there is a change into the behavior of people towards cigars. Yes, I think there is a little bit more respect for cigars, maybe because we are smoking better cigars and we are more educated. But of course, the hard work of everybody behind the scenes in the factories, in distribution, in all the things that make the industry a lot better than maybe was 20 years ago. Okay, it is true the last 2 years we are sitting in our places drinking and smoking. Yes, as well. But I should say that behavior of more respect to cigars and taking the time to have a cigar, stayed in our behaviors. Because during the last years, many things that you were doing now is gone, because maybe you are back to a normal life. But the half hour, 1 hour, maybe a day, or maybe twice a week, or 3 times a week, or the weekend, you keep it taking that to smoke a cigar. Okay, is that sustainable? Man, I can tell you, I saw numbers in Nicaragua being, until a few days ago, for 2 years, president of the tobacco chamber. Wow, it's like it's going to be very difficult to keep up with that. The boom of cigars from Nicaragua. Sustainable it could be, but very difficult to keep at the same speed that we have since 5 years, because the speed in the last five years has been tremendous. Okay, and we are reaching numbers that the 10% more every year of course, cannot be mathematically, because now we are talking about more than 200 million cigars exported from Nicaragua. I mean, if you make it 10% more, it means 20 million cigars more in 1 year. So we are starting to see certain limitation that we are working hard to try to avoid in the future, like the lack of people. You know, we need more people, for example, in Esteli to work in the factories, but there is only a certain population in Esteli, right? The quantities of tobaccos that are grown in Nicaragua, you have to raise a lot the production of tobacco leaves to make more cigars. So again, everything is related one by one. You know, that chain that it has a lot of links connected. When you break one, is then the entire chain. Now, we want to try to not to break, and if we break maybe one little ring and not the entire chain, because then yes, it's not going to be sustainable.
Claudio, Laurent just posted in the comments, what about the problem of the tobacco? Do you probably can or would like to go into a little more detail there? What's your perspective on raw material and the shortage thereof?
Salut Laurent, toujours très bien de te voir. Hein? He's an old friend and he lives in a place where I live too. So beautiful Geneva. So tobacco, man, I'm working a project right now with some Kentucky Fried Cured. It is extremely difficult, not even to buy, but to find some quantity. Okay, I'm not talking about running a huge product. No. It's like a few bags here and there that maybe you can get right now. Okay, so if you want to, the problem is the speed between production of tobacco, production of cigars, and distribution and consumption. Okay, remember always at that time of making the, growing the leaves, curing the leaves, fermenting the leaves. Okay, then you have to age those bags of tobacco. Then you have the pre-industry, all the preparation of tobaccos to put in production or to make cigars takes a long time, right? Then the aging of cigars. Then at the time that you are going to distribute to those cigars, shipping, resting for a bit, and then distributing. So if in 1 year, we jumped into, I don't know, an example, from 1 million cigars smoked to 2 million cigars, you double the consumption, okay? But you didn't double the production of tobacco because it was so fast that there were not enough time to double the production of leaves of tobacco. So you have these 3-4 different speeds all together that we can manage at a certain point, okay? So when you are big, big factory that you have your plantation and you make your tobacco, then it is, a different work that you do. If you buy tobacco ready, fermented, aged, and you put in your production in your factory, then you got to work with the growers, okay? And then now you're gonna move. I mean, now it is like, okay, who has tobacco? So you gotta find them, and you gotta find them fast and maybe before someone else. Of course, when you have a larger production of cigars, you have a large inventory. So maybe you have a power of acquisition of tobacco that is different than a very small factory, okay? But, in this boom, boutiques are growing a lot, and growers, they know that many boutiques that could be very large factories in the near future, they are supporting them. So if you want, there is not the panic, okay, we need tobacco, we need no, there is a kind of, okay, guys, let's get even more organized than we are right now, because we have to face the markets that are asking every year for more and more cigars.
What you perfectly explained, and I believe we cannot stress this enough, is that with a product that needs such a long time in the pre-industry and such a long planning horizon of 7-8 years, it's so hard to react to boom phases as we experience right now, because you would have had to predict the boom 8 years ago in order to be properly equipped with either tobacco or skilled people right now. And so by the sheer essence and nature of the business, you're always behind, literally.
Yes, and you know what? There's going to be a natural selection. Who is making bad cigars today? That maybe there is a little space because everybody's trying, everybody's smoking more, everybody's like, oh, this is new, let me try. Maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, they won't be there anymore making cigars because of natural selection. When a consumption is going down a little bit, it means less cigars smoked. It means less people that making a lot more cigars than we were making before. So everybody is like, personally, why a factory is big? Okay, why? Wow, this factory and this family, 130 years old in the industry, because they make quality. They are consistent. Okay, that's why they are always there, because if you smoke one of those cigars, it's always the same, always good. Or if it's different, there is some new cigar from that factory, that brand, it's going to be good because for 130 years, being good. That's why you make 130 years of history in the cigars, right? A new factory that now just opened because everybody is shipping cigars out of Nicaragua, and they're making cigars in their backyard or in a garage, a couple of pair of rollers, no aging, no quality control. Of course they are going to sell right now, but I don't know tomorrow. And I'm not saying in 5 years, I'm saying tomorrow.
Not only the time that you have spent in the industry is probably key, but you mentioned the aspect size of the factory. And I would take it a step further and say, we have had guests on the show that are representing vertically integrated companies, being in control of every single step along the chain. Then we had other people with us, like Steve Saka, who, when I asked him if owning his own factory and being vertically integrated is sort of the end goal for him, he was like, hell no, I'm happy where I'm at because I can choose, the filet mignon of the tobacco here and there, and then just work with the very best raw material instead of worrying about all the rest. Which category do you fall into, or which storyline do you believe more? Or to phrase it differently, who is having a more difficult and challenging time right now during those boom days? Is it the large factory that is vertically integrated and needs to take care of everything, or the guy who can pick the filet mignon?
Let me say first that, to own a factory, to have a factory, to work every day in a factory, it's a nightmare, right? It is a nightmare. Before, to convert the Casa Favilli into a factory and working every day in production, I was young, I was pretty skinny, no gray hair. Look at me now, after 10 years of production. Because it's very difficult to make that quality, to be competitive, to have a little space in a cigar shop. Okay, and to have that guy that he comes to the shop and he says, oh, I want to smoke one of those cigars. On the other side, I think it is very difficult not to own your factory, because depending with who you work, your brand of cigars can have some limitation. Okay, so you have it is difficult to pick your right partner in production where you rely on your brand. Okay, so your cigars, you are not making your cigars. So you have to trust who's behind the production, tobacco, and all those things. Then, of course, you have to work hard. In tobacco, we never stop. It is every day, not only because of Mother Nature, not only because you got to keep up with your branding and marketing and the attention of your cigars. You got to talk with the people behind production, because, of course, in the boom next year, you need more cigars. So you got to let them know that you want more cigars. So both they have, you know, kind of a relaxed think like, okay, I can control my production in my factory, or I can focus in sales and marketing because, you know, I have trusted people in production, and vice versa, pro and con, you know, both. Of course, I cannot say this is, you know, better scenario than the other one, because each of the scenario has good things and bad things, but it's the hard work, really. It is not an industry where you can relax too much. If you relax too much, it's not good.
I hear you.
Look at Jose Blanco. We have 360 days in a year. He's doing events and traveling for 400 days a year. He never stopped with this guy. I don't know how he does. He's maybe 125 years old and he's still there smoking cigars.
Looking for
the secret is to smoke good cigars, and when you're gonna have a drink, make it quality and not quantity.
Yeah, yeah. It is true because, you know, when I was saying all those things about the quality, if you have quality, you are successful, it is not a secret. It is truly something that will make the difference in your cigars, and it will make the difference in someone that smoke a cigar, as Jose said, smoke better cigars.
If it only were that easy, huh? To always make it better.
Yeah, yeah. And it looks like a huge industry, but we know each other. All of us in the industry, we know each other.
Well, speaking of Claudio, you had and still have a tremendous behind the scenes experience of the industry, and you've seen it all and heard it all. Yet I'm sure there's plenty of things that a lot of people do not want to talk about, or probably don't talk about that openly. But just in your experience, now that you're working independently, one of the benefits is you don't have to talk anybody's language, or you don't have to sing anybody's gospel apart from your own. What were some learnings that you have had over the past 20 years? And on the other hand, how do you think the industry could improve, or we could all try to be better and do better for the better of the entire?
Look, the very first thing that it could be difficult to keep up is to be humble. I learned that, and it paid back a lot. You gotta be humble, you gotta work hard, and you got to learn, okay? Many times, shut your mouth and listen. I remember when I was managing sales and everything, you know, my quote to the brokers or sales reps or everybody was like, you are not selling cigars. They are buying from you. So shut your mouth sometime and just listen, because you are not selling. They are buying, okay? So be humble, could, I should say, help a lot. Or at least it helped, you know, myself a lot, because I've been always, you know, trying to be the most humble possible, because it is a word that really, it is not a joke when we say every day, you know, we learn something, because it is something that is coming from Mother Nature. And Mother Nature, a day is rainy, a day is sunny, a day there is a hurricane, a day there is no water. It is difficult. So be humble, listen and watch. That's maybe an advice that I can give as well. You know, be humble can impact as well. In my case, you know, the people that I handle their project, or that I advise them or I consult them, because I don't like it when, you know, you put yourself like someone, I know everything. Because if you know everything, it means that you didn't understand anything in this industry. As I said, that there is people 130 years behind that, still working every day so hard to keep up with that. And you're coming saying that you know everything. There is too many people of those. We should be, all of us, a little bit more humble. I like a lot the fact that, it is very accessible to go down to make your brand, to make cigars, to enter in this industry, okay? It is very nice because, again, it's a family. But, new people that wants to get into the cigar industry, remind to be humble. That's an advice I want to give. And being humble, honest, and work hard.
It's an excellent point. And we probably all agree that the wonderful thing about the cigar industry is the quality of people they're in, that from a consumer perspective, it is accessible because we could all have a cigar, sit down, and no matter where you're from or what your position, your job, your income, whatever it might be, the cigar is this unifying tool that brings us all together. When it comes to starting your own brand, though, even though it might seem accessible and pretty much everybody with a bit of cash on the side could start his or her own cigar brand, it's probably not that easy, especially if you're lacking the connections and the relationships with the people in the manufacturing countries.
Yeah.
Is that also where you see the benefit of you coming in as a consultant is tremendously helpful?
Yes, of course, I had experienced that by myself at several times. I remember the first time that I arrived, in Granada. There's not even Esteli. Then I grow up in Esteli, with my strong Italian accent and my strong Dominican accent in Spanish, because I learned the Spanish in Dominican Republic. I was like, good morning, I'm Claudio Sgroi, I'm Italian. We have a factory down in Granada. I want a ligero from this place. Everybody's like, who are you? What you want? Would you want ligero? But what you're going to do? You even know how to make cigars? So that's the thing. That's when you say relationship, because yes, through a consultant, through what I do, that bridge or that gap, I should say, it can be fulfilled very fast. So you avoid some delay or in production or restocking or in distribution or having your cigars out there available, but even, how you want to print a label or a ring, there is a lot of work behind that. So all those gaps can be fulfilled and fast, and making a solid bridge through a consultant and through my consultancy. So that's the piece of the puzzle, if you want, missing in a perfect picture that could be missed, I should say, by someone to be extremely successful and in a short period of time. Because of course, when your brand is taking 10, 15, 20, 25 years, but you are still at the same point of 20 years before, I think there is something there, okay? Or you want to have your company stable at that point, but I think there is few guys that wants his company stable at a point and that's it. Everybody wants to succeed in his life. So that little piece of puzzle could be represented by myself as a consultant for someone.
One experience that I also made myself is every now and then it's hard for people to confess that they could need help because everybody's proud. Of course, we all want to be
the NDA. There we start talking the NDA. It is true, Reynard. Go ahead. Sorry.
I believe you already get the essence of my question, anyways. But
yeah,
how hard is that, or why is that? That especially the very best operators in the world, those who already get it right, they are usually the ones who understand we might need some extra help. Let's get somebody smart on board. Let's do something now that we're in good shape to be even better in 2 years, 5 years from now. Whereas the ones that usually need help the most are reluctant to it because of false pride or whatever it is. How's your experience with that?
Look, Reina, I'm not a mechanic. If I have a problem in my car, I go to a mechanic because I don't know that, okay? But in cigars, I'm the best tester of cigars, for example. I've been in front of someone who was smoking cigars, was like, it is not bitter. I was like, yes, it is bitter. He goes like, no, because I'm like, no, it is physiologically in your mouth, you have to taste this bitterness. Otherwise, not even think to start to make your cigars. So there is that thing of, as I was saying, be humble. You know, if you are a little bit more humble, then you can learn where is the bitterness, how to feed the bitterness, and where is coming from the bitterness, right? So again, I'm not a mechanic. So if I have a problem in my car, I go to the mechanic. So if I have a problem, maybe I can get some help from someone else that knows a little bit more about this than I know. Okay, I'm, you know, I don't know a lot of Excel, for example. You know, we are talking the other day, Excel. I hate Excel. So if I need a very complicated spreadsheet in Excel, I'm going to call someone. I try to learn at the same time, but not because I want to avoid to call someone to help me, but because of my personal, you know, life that I want to learn more things every day. But I'm going to call someone. So if you have a problem of humidity of your cigars when they are shipped and arrive in your, you know, distributor, and you checked already your process, your humidity, but still those cigars are humid or wet, there is a problem. Call someone. In that case, I can go through all your, to make you a physical example. We are going to go through the entire process in your factory. You know, we're going to see why this temperature, why the humidity, how many days, and the rotation inside the humidor, and how you fumigate those cigars, or if you are freezing or not, or there is so many things that, again, in that chain, one little ring can be broken and then you have a problem. So when you call someone, in that case, you can have even a better understanding of your production, because when you run your production, I don't know if every day you go one by one, you know, the entire process. And the entire, I don't know, because someone says a cigar is touched by 300 hands, 400 hands, 500 hands. I'm pretty sure we'll reach like 1,000 hands soon. Because there is a lot of little processes, one after the other one, Gotta be on top of that.
And another thing to keep in mind is consistency, experience, you know, hundreds of years in the industry. That's wonderful. But what tradition and history can also bring with it is, at some point you're just blind for your own operation, because it's so much harder to stay on top of everything when you're so used to what's going on, always seeing the same things, hearing and believing your own gospel. So sometimes it's refreshing to get an outside perspective and to take another look at your own operations.
Yes, because you have to experiment as well. You got to do new things. Remember the temperature of fermentation 25 years ago, they were not the same of the temperature that we are fermenting in these days. You know, they dropped a lot. I mean, a lot. I don't want to even touch the wrappers about temperature and humidity, about the size of the pilons of fermentation, about you know, the quantity of pounds that you are piling to ferment tobacco. And everybody has as well is not secret, but let's call it a, you know, personal recipe of that. You know, everybody is a little bit a chef when you work in production tobacco, in the cigar making, you know, process. So there is that evolution. There is you know, your learning curve. There is you are humble as well, and then you can keep up with that consistency that can make the difference in your cigars.
Just because you mentioned some of the intricate details when it comes to the production process, what in your experience were the biggest changes throughout the course of your career, where some of these aspects that you mentioned, be it the temperature of the fermentation, the size of the pilons, the length, what were some paradigm shifts that you've seen? For
me, one of the best things that we are doing right now, it is aging the cigars a little bit more. you smoke a cigar that is
and that
aged.
is, pardon if I just ask for clarity so that everybody knows what you're talking about. You speak ready-made cigars after
You
they
make
have
your
been rolled.
cigars and you put in a humidor to age before to pack the cigars and to ship them.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a huge difference. But remember one thing: if you use a very young tobacco, okay, even though you age a lot more the cigars, you are still using young tobacco. So the aging, it is not only in the cigars, it is on the tobacco. These days in the boom, in these days, maybe someone is missing a little bit of aging in the base of tobacco before to make the cigars, of course, because of the speed of the productions, right? But who's good in production, he knows how to handle that, and he's not missing that aging. And all those things you feel, you taste in a cigar. A cigar that is young, forget cigars are coming from a very famous, country. You cannot smoke right away. You gotta age them 6 months before to smoke them. When I go in a shop and I buy a cigar, I want to smoke that cigar right away, right? I'm not investing in your brand to smoke in 6 months. I want to have my pleasure, paid by my money, and I want to smoke that cigar that is good to smoke right now. And that's where Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras is making the difference into the cigar making. They are aging the tobaccos, they are fermenting the tobaccos very well, even better, as I said, with the changes of temperature of fermentation and size and those things. So we smoke better cigars because of that, and because of dedication on making better cigars.
On the other end of the spectrum, do you still feel like there's certain steps in manufacturing or in the pre-industry where there's certain practices in place, or just common myths that are widespread amongst the industry that you would feel should be revised and probably changed?
Yeah, maybe the most famous, the cigars in Cuba were rolled on the legs of the beautiful women. I think someone still believes that, that's something that actually was true, but it is not true, okay? And there is a lot of more things, but that's nice because, everybody thought that, right? But actually it's coming from the fact that when they were deveining the wrappers, and I think they still do that in some of the factories in Cuba. Then on the legs, they were pressing the leaves, and the game of the telephone from the beginning to the end, the thing changed that you said. That's the thing. When someone saw that, and then at the end, someone said, "Oh, they're rolling cigars on the legs." But I think there is that innovation, for example. That is making the difference, and innovation is brought as well because we are using new tobaccos, new varieties, new seeds, even new countries are making tobaccos. So more than meat and that thing, I want to think about this conversation about that. So of course, man, you guys, you remember to smoke a Maduro 10 years ago? Yeah. And then going back home and your wife saying, "Why your lips are black? You were kissing someone with a black lipstick." Fortunately, it's not happening anymore. So that's why, again, we are smoking better cigars. There is a lot of more things. Maybe someone can bring some other example, and then, we can have a conversation about that.
Let's bring in Brian. Over in LA. You had a question, my friend.
Yeah, good afternoon, Claudio.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. It's fun. I enjoy watching you so much. You have such good energy, and the positivity is amazing. I just, it's really great, this idea of being humble and learning something new every day. It's you're happy, and I think you make people want to be happy when they're around you. So that's great. I have a couple of quick questions, if that's okay. I don't have a good palate, so I don't think I'm going to be starting my own cigar brand anytime soon. But when you were mentioning bitterness earlier, it was just as an example, but you know, I have a little book, and I try to flavor wheel, right? And Cigar Cooper, whatever, he's talking about like coffee notes or espresso notes, kind of as a good thing. And you're talking about bitterness sort of as a bad thing. And so, you know, there's no coffee or espresso on here. So whenever that note comes up, I try to taste it and then I put it down as bitter. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. I guess it confuses me a little bit, some of these things.
Okay, let me say,
maybe I just don't have a very
no. Look, everybody has a taste, everybody has a tongue, and everybody has a nose. You know, Franca is already laughing because she knows me very, very well. Hi, Frank, I saw you. We have finally to divide one big thing into two different things. Okay, you have a taste, it is in your mouth. Okay, and then whatever is going through your nose, it's another thing. Okay, if you smell espresso, that's one thing, but an espresso without sugar, it could be bitter. Okay, and the bitterness, you can feel the bitterness only your mouth. Something bitter, I don't know if you can feel here. Okay, maybe, but you feel it here. So that's why, you know, when we call someone a master blender, because you are mastering certain things in the blending, okay, that you can achieve a technical point of view on those things, then it's going to help you, you know, making the cigars, tasting the tobacco, and then building a blend and all the things. You know, when you are a master blender, you know as well why that tobacco is so bitter and where it's coming from. Okay, or I can tell you more. When a tobacco is very, very sweet, okay, it is not only because in the nature of that seed, the tobacco or the region is coming from the tobacco is sweet, but it could be a technical problem during the curing of the fermentation. So what we are doing, it is making the cigars in a way that you can enjoy at the maximum. All those things cannot be too bitter. It cannot be too dry in your mouth. Gotta be balanced. Got to be complex. It has to be nice aromas. All the things that make the difference in a cigar.
Yeah, maybe the truth is that it's a little bit more complicated and complex than a flavor wheel in general. I mean, this is maybe a bit limiting. Like I noticed a lot of time, you know, notes of salt.
Yeah, Brian, you know what I do every day, the whole day, the entire day. Whatever I have in front of me, I smell it. That's the best cool. You know, if I take a sip of coffee from my cup here, I smell it first. And then it gets into every time you have something, you smell it. And you know what you build there? You build a memory. Okay? If you never had a banana in your life, you don't know how a banana smells, right? So you cannot say, oh, I had in the red trail an aftertaste or sweet banana from Guatemala. Because the banana from Ecuador is a lot different than the sweetness of Guatemala. So you build that memory and you build the knowledge that then can help you a lot defining flavors, aroma, and taste.
Cool. Okay, thanks. I'm gonna jump topic. So earlier, so obviously quality is the most important thing for like a brand owner, but how important do you think is the story? So like when I'm smoking and I'm reading about the cigar, I love to figure out the name. Why is it named that? The story, like I love the story behind Undercrown. I love the story behind 724 and Crowned Heads. How important do you think that is?
Look, it is very important. Because remember, when you buy a beautiful bottle of wine, there is a label on. There is, you know, the vintage on the wine. There is maybe printed the Chateau. You are already like, wow, this is not. This got to be a good wine, right? Cigars is the same thing. Okay, you gotta build a nice, first of all, a true story. Got to be true. Okay, because I don't like, and I saw a lot of them in 20 years. Oh, I make my cigars in my factory. Doesn't have a factory, and he's not making his cigars. He has cigars, but he's not making cigars. Okay, or when they say, oh, my brand that I make, you make the brand, but you are not making the cigars. So don't say that, you know, I'm the master blender of my cigars. No, because many times, Reynard is laughing now. He's like, yeah, come on, go ahead. I want to know that. Many times they go down to a factory, they smoke samples, and then they are back. I made my cigars, I made my blend. No, you didn't make your blend. You are just trying cigars and saying, yes, it's good. I don't like it. It's too strong for me. It's too spicy. And then the master blender is back, you know, opening those cigars. Okay, which one of the tobaccos, change this, give another sample.
Cool. Great. Thank you so much. Cheers.
No problem. My pleasure, Brian. Always good to see you.
Ian.
Hi, Claudio. I was in a cigar shop the other day, and someone talking about Cuban cigars, and he was able to sell some which he had bought a few years ago for 10 times what he had paid for them, because, you know, as they get older, people love them. Do you think the industry in, you know, New World should be aiming for that, for cigars which will age for a long time, you know, 10, 20 years, and which will then increase in price? And on your comment about wanting to smoke things immediately, yes, I do, but I also like to keep things in my humidor and to see how they develop over time. Rather like, you know, I buy wine, but I don't want to necessarily drink it immediately. I'll keep it and, you know, have a bottle this year and another bottle next year, and just see how it develops over time.
Yes.
And I don't know whether the industry wants to get in that position where, you know, a Padron cigar will be $300 or something when it gets old. Is that a good thing or not, in your opinion?
Look, I smoked a couple of times cigars that were 30, 40 years old, 50 years old. You gotta be sure where they were stored, temperature, humidity. You know, tobacco has a life, a natural life, okay? So you cannot force more than that, because then you're going to lose everything in a cigar. So do I think the industry wants more of that? I think the industry or the brands wants more, you know, awareness for the quality that they do, because we have to make a huge difference between the collectors and aficionados. Okay, collectors description that you gave. You know, buy a box, you keep it for 30 years, and then you're waiting or thinking is going to get more value because he has 30 years old, or this brand or that brand. That's a collector, okay? The aficionado does that too, okay? But in a little scale, because he buys his cigars, he likes to see if that cigar maybe in 6 months it changed or it stayed the same. You got your clean up moment of your humidor, you open, you take the cigars out, you check them. You know, that's a little bit of collecting cigars, seeing how they, you know, behave in the aging and the other things in a much smaller, you know, scale. And it is part of the aficionado, because aficionado means a passion that you have to those cigars, but you keep smoking them. You know, many collectors, they don't smoke. They don't. I can tell you, I knew a few of them. And I was going to say something I shouldn't, but, you know, biggest collector of cigars are in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And I met one of them. Oof, was difficult to talk to him. Because, man, he knew everything. I'm like, okay, so what conversation? A coffee, please. And I went to take a coffee, because then you have a kind of shock between two persons that cannot have a conversation, because you are completely blocked yourself from learning something or talking to someone, because you have your laws of cigars. Ron Lee, that is, I never met him, okay? he wrote a book on the aging of Cuban cigars. So there is a first phase, a second phase of aging, a third phase. You cannot smoke a Cuban cigars before 30 years. Like, okay, beautiful. I learned something. Okay, but I don't think if I want to do that. There is that main difference again to make between collectors and smokers or aficionados.
Another question, if I may. Have you ever, or would you like to blend with Cuban tobacco?
I would love because I never blended, Cuban tobaccos. I'm very curious to have that experience. But I think I will be very happy if I can use tobaccos with quality. I don't like when someone says, okay, we got to use this tobacco, let's make a blend. And I'm like, no, because then you lost everything that, we talked so far since the beginning of the show. So blending Cuban tobacco, yes, of course, I would love to do that. I never blended Cuban. I smoked many Cubans in my life, but I never blended with Cuban tobacco.
And do you think the New World cigars are better now? Do you think that you'd prefer them to a Cuban cigar?
I didn't smoke a Cuban in 3 years. Okay. Because before those 3 years, not because of pandemic, but because before these 3 years, for 2 years, I had only bad experiences. I'm not lucky to find a good one. Maybe yes. I don't know. But I had the bad experiences. And, when it starts to be an average, not an average cigar, but the average, the fact that you have a bad experience, I'm like, I'm not interested. I'm more interested. Right now, I'm more interested in trying new tobaccos, So when I see some new cigar in the market, there's some new tobacco, new wrapper, or a new seed that is used in the blend, then I'm going to buy that cigar and to smoke it. I'm very curious about tobacco, about everything about tobacco and seeds and everything. And then it can help me in blending. So, it's more knowledge every day. Every day you learn something. So when I blended, a couple of limited edition with my buddy Edgar in Dominican Republic, for the first time, we used the tobacco from Haiti. I didn't even know they're making tobacco there. So we got this guy coming from the Plateau Central in Haiti, this tobacco we tried, and then you know what? We are like, whoa, there is something here. And we used that tobacco in another blend that I cannot say right now, but some tobacco from Africa, from one country in Africa that again, I was like, are they doing tobacco there? There is a lot of tobacco in Africa, okay? But not specifically from that country. I was very, very surprised.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Claudio, do you think that what you just mentioned, with the shortage of raw materials, the challenges in finding skilled rollers in Esteli, and now you're talking of new provenances and new origins of raw material, will we see more of that? Yes. That the industry is moving to other manufacturing countries, that the tobacco growers are using other territories? Yes,
and I can tell you, I have a friend that they told me that yesterday. Is going to open a new factory in a country and not in the town that everybody's there. Why? Because he said that there is nobody here to get to my factory to work. So I'm going in a place where there is not a cigar factory. There is not a lot of factories to work. So I can get people to work in my factory. Now, he's going to teach because, it's a long work to get to the point of quality and all those things. But it's a smart move. It's a smart move, so you're going to see a lot more of those things, I think, if the boom keep going with this kind of speed, where there is going to be new tobaccos from new countries or new region within the countries that are already making tobacco, new seeds that maybe are giving more tobacco per hectare than others. And it's already happening. It's already happening. There is a lot of work behind that to make sure that we can make enough cigars for everybody.
two brief comments in the meantime, or two brief shout outs. First of all, Claudio, you definitely need to talk to Gabby Caffey. He was watching over on Facebook, and he probably still is on the live stream, and he was full of praise for you, and grateful that you're on the show. And please get in touch with him.
Yes, I
he
will.
might have some business for
A
you.
good buddy, coffee.
Always good to bring people together here at the lounge.
Yes.
Secondly, Riot and the Leaf Masters in Dubai have a wonderful initiative going on with a beautiful collage that they're doing, piece of art with all the smokers' favorite pictures and their favorite pose when they're enjoying the heck out of their cigars. So if you want to be part of that beautiful collage at the Leaf Masters, get your pictures over to Riot. I just submitted mine today.
Oh boy,
and
I will.
another question. So if I said anything that is not correct about the artwork and the collage, please correct me right away. But
No, you couldn't have said it better. You could not have said it better. I so appreciate this, and it's the Hall of Fame, and I'm so excited about having the big extended family. It's such a beautiful feeling to have such a big extended family, your friends, your smokers, the icons of the industry. It's just going to be fun. It's a 10x3 glass wall that's going to have everybody's pictures, and it's just going to be epic. We're planning it to be insane. So I encourage you to send your pictures, whether we know each other or we don't. This is the best way for us to basically meet, remotely. Maestro, always a pleasure. You know how much I love talking to you. You know how much I love listening to you, and so I cannot thank Reinhard enough for making this repeatedly possible. I've done my own share of financial advisory, and I love this because when you're a consultant, one of the best ways for people to get a free advice is to call you and tell you, I want to pick your brain about something. And that translates into a free advice. So I want to take this opportunity and I want to pick your brain on something, because God knows I don't know everything, and I know my limitations. And
okay, I have your email. I'm going to send an invoice to you.
I know where you live. So I want to address the big white elephant in the room, and this year is going to be very challenging. And what's beautiful about what you're doing right now is you have finally shifted from being purely on the production side to being on the consumption side, or on the selling side. And so you have a sort of a double vision as to what's going on, and you can understand the dynamics of how both parties interact. As for the distributors on this call and in general, and I had a very interesting call yesterday with Jose Blanco, and I really thank him for his time. What's going to happen for distributors? I mean, prices are already increasing. Everybody's sending you the emails about the price increase. 5%, 7%, what have you, whatever it is, all of that stuff. Your supply chain is triple the cost, if not more. It's becoming a touch and go in terms of what you end up paying. And on top of that, people are already talking that, you know what, there has been an increase in January. Rest assured, at the rate the raw material supply is going to be, you might be hit with another increase come July. So what does a person do in my position? Do you double up? You speak to other distributors, and they're like, you know what, I'm doubling up on my order. So if I want 500 boxes, I'm actually ordering 1,500 boxes. But that is fake demand in the market, and that's just going to continue to inflate what's going on. I've read so many things. Some people told you the US last year consumed 365 million. It looks like the US is about to hit 550 million. What's your 2 cents on this? I know this is the $1 billion question, but what's your 2 cents on this?
So, the work of a distributor is extremely complicated. A lot of respect to distributors. Because of course, a lot of respect who make cigars, but again, those cigars then are going to be sold. And the distributors, they have a huge responsibility. First of all, because they are part of that chain in the experience of one cigar that you are going to have, okay? Because you can make the best cigar, the best branding, rings, boxes, and then if you are not very well represented in a country, then your brand is not going to have the same awareness that he has in a country where a distributor is rock and rolling your brand, not only because of the demand, but because of the work they do, okay? You wanna pick my brain about distributors, have always your eyes open on the behaviors of people, okay? On not the consumption in your country, because in many countries it's very difficult to know that, because countries, they have you know, public numbers of consumption of tobacco, cigarettes, cigars, machine-made. Other countries, you cannot know that. So that's why, again, it is very difficult. Keep open that conversation with the brand that you represent in your country, or you distribute in your country, to know how they go, how fast, or what they are doing in production, in terms of try to get the most information you can about availability of certain cigars, certain brands, when, so you can schedule behind with those information, you can better schedule your work in the country where you are, okay? Then it's a lottery to have enough cigars to respond to the demand every time, every year. It's not a lottery, but there is not a perfect mathematical formula for that. Because again, the speed of consumption and the speed of production, sometimes there is a gap. So you can be the best forecasting your business in your country, but then you cannot get enough cigars, right? So it is complicated. It is very, very complicated. But keep open that conversation with the brands. You know, have always your eyes widely open in the market where you operate, and then you can try to avoid mistakes, errors, out of stock, and things that can hurt your business. It is very, very difficult to say, yeah, this is 2 + 2 is 4. That's very difficult, because again, the trend, the speed, the consumption, the you know, the marketing you do, because a distributor, they make marketing a lot as well, right? They are not in production, they are in distribution, so marketing is part as well. I love when the brand, they support a lot the distributors, because then they have the material they can use. You know, they know the story, they know the brand, and how to market that brand, because the first marketing is made by the brand. You know, the guides and the lines that you should follow are made by the brand. And then I'm a big fan of twisting a little bit of that based on the country where the distributor is. You have to have the main message, the main look, the same history for everybody, but then it's the distributor in each of the country making that little twist because of the different laws, the different taxation of cigars, the different kind of distribution. You have countries with a monopoly state that controls the distribution. You have countries where cigars are completely free to sell. You have cigars with a high taxation, and countries with high taxation in cigars, and you have countries where there is not a lot of taxes. Countries you have to spend a lot of money to register the cigar with the state. So that's where I'm saying there is a little twist, because then the speed and the amount of the push of the brand is going to be made by the distributor.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Right. Could you please let everybody know where to send pictures to? Because people are excited now.
Thank you so much. So you can either DM us your pictures on Instagram, or feel free to go into our bio. My phone number is there. So you can actually send it to us on WhatsApp. My email is there also. You can email it to me or send it to me via WeTransfer. So whichever way, just make sure it's a high resolution picture, and whichever way you want to send it, feel free to do so. In the worst case scenario, if you're confused, drop me a line on Instagram and I'm happy to send you the instructions. Thank you so much.
Of course. And if you may, I'll put your email address in the comment section here in the chat so people have it right away.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Of course, all the time. Claudio, since Ryan wanted to address elephants in the room, let me bring up another one. We just saw the Half Wheel Consensus Cigar Aficionado of the Year, the top 25 lists. It's that time of the year again. And here is the maestro Claudio as an independent consultant now, but you spend time with Mombacho, Davidoff, different companies. How important are these top lists, ratings, reviews? Is it a blessing? Is it a burden? Is it something that you aspire when you work on a consultancy project as well? Or would you say it's nice to have and it's entertaining for all the people on their phones, but when it comes to actually moving the needle of sales, it's a different story?
Oh, that's another $1 million question. Do you think a Japanese whiskey has been in the market more and more so fast, so popular, without to be #1 best whiskey on the world in the last 5 years or 7 years? You think that they had the same speed without that? Do you think that doesn't help to be #1 of the year in Cigar Aficionado? Of course it helps. Now, I remember a brand that, man, he had a lot of problem after to be #1 because, of course, everybody's calling you. Everybody wants that cigar. But yes, of course. Now, and it's everything. It's entertaining. It's like the suspense of, oh, next week there's going to be the #1 of the year. And then you want to see the other ones as well in the top 25. Then you have preference, Cigar Aficionado, Cigar Snob, Cigar Journal, or, you know, one blog more than the other. But maybe there is too many of those lists, okay? The other day I saw a guy on YouTube with 3 followers, and he made, you know, top 10 cigars of the year. I'm like, that's beautiful. But maybe we have too many of those. You know, every blog these days, they have one top 10, 25, 30, 50, 100, I don't know. It helps a lot. It is nice to have them, but then I don't want to see the point of, man, I'm not watching any more those because everybody has a top list, okay? I should say that some serious guys, you know, they have a very strict, you know, way to list those cigars or to make that list, you know, a, you know, very strict process. I believe there is some very talented guy as well that make that list that knows a lot about cigars. So when they are smoking those cigars, they can make the difference between an average cigar, a good cigar, and a great cigar. But again, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's sad sometimes when, you know, you're a brand, you try to get into top 25 and you don't get that. You know, it's a little bit of everything. But I should say this year, I watched those lists a lot less than other years. Yeah.
And I mean, in general, respect and kudos to all the people out there who invest time, money, lots of effort into doing reviews, ratings, compiling all these lists. It's a lot that goes into it. And in particular, when you see those lists that have strict guidelines laid out for themselves and principles that they follow, that's probably also important for the consumer to better understand what's the rationale behind the way a certain list is being put together, and feeling and understanding the authenticity behind it, a certain independence, and just how these lists come together. So I believe that's very important.
Yeah, indeed.
Seth had a question. Seth, over to you.
Yes, Claudio, can you tell us what you think the future of Casa Favilla and Mombacho will be. And if there was one, I guess, or one of the cigars there that you'd really, you're really proud of, or maybe more than one of them that you recommend?
Well, the future is up to them. Gonna keep working hard to keep the legacy of Casa Favilli. Casa Favilli is a classified monument in town, so they gotta work hard. And proud of those cigars, all of them. I blended them, all of them. So of course I'm proud of all of them, but there is the Cosecha line. It's a little bit my little baby preferred more than the others, maybe because of the difficulty of the project, to have the tobaccos only from 1 year crop, only from Nicaragua. It was difficult, but at the same time, it was so passionate, about that project I developed. Finally, to have a true vintage, like in wine, that you have the year on the label, so all tobaccos are from those ones. And I had a lot of fun going around in Nicaragua, finding those tobaccos, aging for years. I mean, remember Cosecha 2012, it's been aged maybe for 4 years, 4 or 5 years. The cigars made and then aged for 5 years. So a lot of proud on that project because extremely, extremely complicated. But, one of my favorites as well, Liga Maestro. That's the blend I made, 100% tobaccos from Nicaragua, worked a lot. Finally, with the tobacco growers that I built a relationship, spectacular wrapper from Malapa. I mean, those are good.
And it's just hard to say how much attendance will pick up until after the pandemic, I guess.
After the pandemic, I said, I want to tell you, first of all, I want this thing over because everybody's like tired. Just spoke with my family in Italy and the region where they live. They are now yellow or orange. They cannot go outside of their hometown. It's like a mess. So behaviors of people and smokers or consumption of cigars, so we changed after that. I think yes, because by the way, there is always an evolution in the markets. Maybe the pandemic will make that difference a little bit bigger or not. I don't know, but it's a natural life of every market that there is going to be 1 year better than another one in terms of sales or other things.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Seth. What, Claudio, would be one of the things that you would wish for the future of the industry? What is one thing that we probably all can work towards making this ecosystem an even more wonderful place? And when you wish for something, then probably on the one hand for yourself and for CST consultancy, obviously, but also for the entire ecosystem and the cigar industry as a whole.
Yeah, I think a lot more respect to everybody that works very, very hard in this industry. Because, I think there is in the wine industry, the wine world, they did so much education in the last 50 years, okay? People are drinking wine a lot more with more education, okay? And everybody knows, more or less a wine from Italy, a wine from Spain, from California, Chardonnay here or there, or Champagne, they know it's France. So that's a mistake we did. We should make a lot more education, the people working in the cigar industry. From the other side, respect for this hard work, because you cannot see many times how difficult this is. Okay, it takes a long time. It's exhausting as well. So having that respect, it makes us happier as well, because it's always nice to have respect. But I think it is going to take the industry is even tighter than it is right now. You know, this big happy family can be always happier and happier with all these things that we are talking today, because it's not difficult. You know, I don't like it when someone says, oh, from that factory cigars are only bad. Don't say that. You know, pick the phone. Is your friend, call him and saying, hey, look, I had a cigar, I had a little bit of bad experience, you know, because of this and that. So he can learn, he can get better.
Excellent. I couldn't agree more. Claudio, I have to confess, I love your work. I love your attitude, and I have nothing but the highest respect for everything that you have built, because it sometimes feels like even though you're not a quiet person at all, but for the industry as a whole, there's probably other people who try to be more on the front line and you know, try to be in everybody's face and on everybody's Instagram and Facebook feed. You're more of a behind the scenes kind of guy, and your work now pays tribute to that. But what you have accomplished over the course of your career is nothing short of exceptional, and it's inspiring. And I am truly grateful and blessed to consider you a wonderful friend and a fellow along my personal cigar journey. And I hope that many more people have the very same opportunity and can say the same thing. And thus, I wish nothing but the very best for you and for CST Consulting and everybody out there who could possibly take a little bit of advice or some help, whether it's on the manufacturing side, marketing, sales, distribution. Phone up Mr. Claudio Sgroi, because Jesus me, we all say you can learn something every single day, and most certainly I'm learning something from you every single day. So I take my hat off to that, and again, nothing but the very best to you, because you do an exceptional job, all the while staying an amazing human being. I'm blessed and honored to have had you on the show again, and thanks for everything that you do. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and it is, you know, it is very, very well accepted what you said, because when these 20 years, it has not been only, you know, smoking cigars, traveling, the good life. It has been very difficult as well. You know, when you arrive in a country, you don't even speak a language, and you have a salary of $250 a month. And then the day 15 of the month, there is no money for food, and you gotta go to work. It is, you know, from a side, learning a lot to be better, but you know, everything help to make sure that today I'm here where I am. You know, I'm today I can say that I lived in 7 different countries. I speak 4 languages, but it has been a very difficult sometime. But this is a world that is very rewarding as well when you work hard. So I'm happy to be part of the big happy cigar family. I'm happy to say that I have a lot of friends as well, you know, and you know, someone says, as you did, I'm inspiring others. That's a huge, huge honor and responsibility as well. Because that consistency on cigars, it has to be in the personal life as well.
Exactly. What a wonderful way and word to end this interview. Claudio, it was an absolute pleasure to have you at the Light 'em Up Lounge. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
All the very best to you, and keep on rocking.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thanks, Claudio.